Most people think freezing tomatoes is a bad idea, but that misunderstanding is exactly why so many good tomatoes go to waste. Hi friends, I'm Nancy. Today I want to show you a simple, practical method to store tomatoes in the freezer so you can save money, reduce waste, and always have tomatoes ready for soups, sauces, and warm home-cooked dishes. It's easy, gentle, and perfect for busy days or quiet evenings at home. Stay with me, you might never look at extra tomatoes the same way again. Before you do anything else, the first step is always to start with clean, good quality tomatoes. This step may sound simple, but it makes a big difference in how well your tomatoes keep in the freezer. When you bring them home, take a moment to rinse each tomato gently under cool running water. There's no need to scrub hard. Just remove any dirt, dust, or residue from handling at the market. After washing, place them on a clean kitchen towel and let them dry completely. This helps prevent extra ice crystals from forming later. Once the tomatoes are dry, you can decide how you want to prepare them. For everyday cooking, I like to cut them into medium-sized pieces. You can slice them, quarter them, or cut them into chunks depending on how you usually cook. If you often make soups, stews, or sauces, chunks work beautifully and save you time later. There's no need to peel the skin at this stage. The skins will soften after freezing and can be removed easily during cooking if needed. Next, place the cut tomatoes into a freezer-safe bag. Try not to overfill the bag. Lay the pieces flat so they freeze evenly and don't stick together too much. Before sealing, remove as much air as possible. With clean hands, press the bag slowly to push out the excess air. You'll notice the bag naturally tightening around the tomatoes. If you want to be extra careful, you can use a simple straw. Insert the straw into the opening, gently draw out the remaining air, and quickly seal the bag as you remove the straw. This creates a light vacuum effect without any special equipment. If you prefer, you can also freeze tomatoes whole using the same method. Whole frozen tomatoes are especially convenient for sauces. Once thawed, the skins slide off easily, saving you time later. Whether sliced or whole, the key is always the same. Less air means better results. After sealing, label the bag with the date and type of preparation. This small habit helps you stay organized and avoid waste. Place the bag flat in the freezer so it doesn't take up unnecessary space. Frozen this way, tomatoes can keep their color and flavor for several months, ready whenever you need them for cooking. When you're ready to use your frozen tomatoes, you don't need to wait hours for them to thaw. There's a quick and gentle way to defrost them that also makes cooking much easier. Start by taking the tomatoes straight from the freezer. Using a small knife, make a light cross on the skin. This little step helps the skin loosen quickly. Next, place the tomatoes into a bowl and pour boiling water over them. Let them sit for about 30 seconds. You'll notice the skins begin to curl and separate almost immediately. Drain the hot water and the peels will slide right off with your fingers. No struggle, no mess. This method saves time and keeps the flesh intact. I used to plan meals around how long frozen tomatoes needed to thaw. Some days, I almost gave up on using them. Learning this simple trick saved me time and brought back the joy of cooking. Once peeled roughly, chop the tomatoes. They may look softer than fresh ones, and that's exactly what you want. Frozen tomatoes release their juices more easily, which makes them perfect for sauces. Heat a pan over medium heat, add a splash of olive oil, and gently sauté a clove or two of minced garlic until fragrant. Then add the chopped tomatoes, stir, and let them simmer. In just a few minutes, you'll have a simple, rich tomato sauce. You don't need fancy ingredients. A pinch of salt is often enough. What surprises many people is the flavor. Tomatoes that have been frozen and then cooked often taste deeper and more concentrated than tomatoes that have been sitting in the fridge for days. Freezing locks in their freshness and cooking brings it right back out. This is one of those small kitchen tricks that makes everyday cooking easier, faster, and more satisfying. If you often cook soup, stews, or pasta sauces, freezing tomatoes as a puree can be one of the most convenient kitchen habits you'll ever pick up. This method saves time later and makes everyday cooking feel much easier, especially on busy days when you just want to get a meal on the table without extra prep. Start with fresh tomatoes and cut them into smaller pieces. There's no need to peel them at this stage. The skins will soften completely once cooked and they won't affect the final flavor. Place the chopped tomatoes into a blender and blend until smooth. You can blend them completely or leave a little texture depending on how you usually like your sauces. Once blended, pour the tomato puree into freezer-safe containers or ice cube trays. Ice cube trays are especially useful because they create small, easy-to-measure portions. After the puree is fully frozen, pop the cubes out and transfer them into a zip-top freezer bag. This keeps your freezer organized and frees up the trays for the next batch. These tomato cubes are incredibly practical. When you're making soup, stew, or pasta sauce, you can take out just a few cubes and add them directly to the pot. They melt quickly and blend right into hot dishes without any extra steps. There's no need to thaw them ahead of time, which is a huge time saver. Another nice benefit is flavor. Tomatoes frozen at peak freshness often taste richer and more vibrant when cooked than tomatoes that have been sitting in the refrigerator for days. With this method, you always have a ready-to-use base that makes homemade meals faster, easier, and more satisfying, right when you need it most. If you love tomatoes with a deeper, more concentrated flavor, this method is truly worth trying. Roasting tomatoes before freezing completely changes their taste in the best way. It brings out their natural sweetness and adds a gentle, savory richness that raw tomatoes simply don't have. Start by washing your tomatoes and cutting them in half. Place them cut side up on a baking sheet lined with parchment paper. Drizzle a small amount of olive oil over each piece. You don't need much. Just enough to lightly coat the surface and help the tomatoes roast evenly. If you like, you can add a pinch of salt, but it's optional since you can always season later when cooking. Roast the tomatoes in the oven until they become soft and slightly caramelized around the edges. They should look darker, a bit wrinkled, and smell wonderfully rich. This slow roasting removes excess moisture and concentrates the flavor, which is exactly what makes this method so special. Once roasted, let the tomatoes cool completely. This step is important before freezing. After they've cooled, divide them into small portions using freezer-safe containers or zip-top bags. Freezing them in smaller portions makes it easy to use only what you need later without thawing everything at once. These roasted frozen tomatoes are incredibly versatile. They work beautifully in pasta sauces, soups, stews, and even as a spread on toasted bread. You can blend them into a smooth sauce or roughly chop them for a rustic texture. Freezing roasted tomatoes like this helps preserve that slow roasted flavor, so even weeks or months later, your meals will still taste warm, rich, and homemade. Before we wrap up, I want to remind you of one simple thing. Good cooking doesn't have to be complicated or time-consuming. With a few smart habits like freezing tomatoes the right way, you can save money, reduce waste, and still enjoy rich homemade flavor anytime you need it. I hope today's tip makes your time in the kitchen a little easier and a little more enjoyable. Take care of yourself, cook at your own pace, and remember, small changes really do make a big difference in everyday life. Thanks so much for spending this time with me.